So just what is it going to take for the Spurs to get back into the playoffs?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kansas 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hope you're all having a great Tuesday. And we appreciate you making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kansas 5 Plus app, YouTube. You know where to go. Hey, you guys are the everydayers. So to keep up with us every single day, you can also subscribe to the Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's in the description below if you're watching on YouTube, or just go to lockedondaily.com to get started and sign up today. Speaking of that, today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your own Xbox. No console needed. Head to amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. What are we talking about today? We're going to be discussing the Spurs and the playoffs. Yeah, first of all, I wish they were in the postseason right now. But nevertheless, they do have a playoff drought. Throw in a play-in drought. Just after regular season drought. How's that? But we're going to try today to say, what is it going to take? What is it going to look like? What has to happen for the Spurs to get into the postseason? And no, part of the game is we can't cheat and say, well, make it to the play-in and get that 7th or 8th seed. No. Can they secure a 1 through 6 seed as soon as next season? Yeah, we're going to be discussing that and more, then get into some NBA playoff talk to wrap up this episode. Is going to bring in our guest. He is Rudy Campos, back once again this week, right here on Locked On Spurs. He is with Sweep the League. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. Check out his show, Sweep the League. I'm still getting duped, man. I still think you're live and you're not. I'm still getting I mean, is that intentional? Like, you just trying to get people to watch or something? Because it's working.
Well, the whole premise by it is because we are now broadcast pretty much globally, like for sure. We were already, but now we're pretty much broadcast globally for sure. So going live, it attracts the attention of everybody rather than pre-recorded. Notice when you go live, it has a circle around the YouTube page or even your profile on Twitter or wherever it is. So it kind of makes more people join in knowing that it's a live show. So that's kind of why we do it.
Well, it's still cool. It just, I start writing a comment or something and I'm like, oh, it's not live. So that's why they're not talking to me right now. But Rudy will get his chance to talk about his show and more in just a few minutes. But Rudy, I know you're pressed for time, so let's dive right into this right now. So we're watching the NBA playoffs right now. Pretty exciting games, thrilling games down the wire. Pick a series, and for the most part, they're exciting. But San Antonio Spurs are in a playoff drought. I said in the intro, they're also in a play-in drought. They're just in a postseason drought for it's going on 7 years already. So it's been a while. So they made some moves this past season, trading for De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, one big move is the draft and getting Stephon Castle, Smart Scavay on their end. Freeman Barnes, CP3, we know what they did. But, let's start off with this. Okay, so the premise here again is what is it going to take for the Spurs to get into the postseason next year? So let's just start off with the landscape of the West. There are windows of opportunity for the Spurs to leap into a 1 through 6 seed. They're obviously not going to get the 1 or 2, not even a 3, but there's a chance for them to get maybe a 5 or 6. That's there. So you start looking at the West landscape. I'll start off with the Nuggets. They don't, if they lose this series, that could bode bad news for them moving forward. They lost their coach, Malone. They fired him. They seem to be in a transition. That's a team that could fall, couldn't they?
With the way they're currently constructed, yeah, it's not a team that's on the right path anymore. With Jokic being there, it's gonna be an interesting offseason. No head coach, like as far as Mike Malone goes. Yeah, they're gonna have to revisit the whole head coaching process, see if there's somebody out there they want to get. Yeah. But also, you got to see what happens with Jamal Murray. He hasn't had a really good season this year. They lost a lot of key pieces in that title team. So Denver could be in a transition, but again, how far they fall from grace, it's still to be determined.
Yeah, it really is. And look, they still finished with one of the West best records, top 4 seed. Nevertheless, they seem to be something's off. Something could be wrong. That's a team that could slide out and give the Spurs a chance to get into the postseason. Another team that could slide down are the Warriors. The Warriors could be on their last hurrah. They could be on their last legs. Who knows what's going to happen with Steve Kerr? The Warriors seemingly could be a team that can also fall down out of the playoff hunt, couldn't they?
They really could, but I mean, with the addition of Jimmy Butler there, I think it kind of helps the Warriors a lot more, as you can kind of see during their playoff run with Houston. So I think they have the potential to add a pretty good piece in the offseason. So the slide for the Warriors, I don't think it's going to be really that bad. It still may be in play for them, but they actually may be able to sneak in to the actual playoff seeding. So I think the Warriors are actually on a really good trajectory.
Interesting. As you see, I have a just still in transition. Sure, adding Butler was huge, but
Mhm.
what if Steve Kerr leaves? What if they part ways with Draymond? I don't think they will. I think he might retire a Warrior, but they seem to be like a Spurs team that's trying to rebuild on the fly, kind of what
Yeah.
the Spurs do with the DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. They seem to be doing that while they're still having their core player Curry and Draymond still there. That's a team I got on my radar that could slide and help the Spurs make a postseason appearance. One other team that I think could take a dramatic fall, the Grizzlies, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you seem emphatic there. Why do you see as Grizzlies as a team that could just plummet?
The biggest reason why is because we have no idea if John Morant's going to still be a part of Memphis going into next season. I mean, his antics this year have been really negative, obviously, with the league, finding him for his gun gestures, but also, the team itself. You fired Taylor, you fire their coach right there,
Yeah, Jenkins.
and yeah, you fired their coach. And the thing is that outside of John Morant, the team is actually really good when he's not on the court. I think they play a lot better. Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey, you've got Desmond Bain. They've got players there, but with John Morant, it just kind of seems like a big old circus there with him there. And that's the problem that I see with Memphis. If they lose John Morant, they're going to lose, obviously, their best player. They might be in a little bit of a transition. And I think that hurt Memphis. That will hurt Memphis a whole lot. But again, it depends on the coach, man. Can the coach gel with John Morant? Can the coach gel with, the team that he has currently? I think it'll be in some sort of transition. Of the three talked about so far, Memphis has the one to drop all the way, a few spots, and that's the team to watch out for.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, another team to watch out for the Mavericks. They sure say what you will about the Doncic trade, but on paper, Rudy, it seemingly might work with Kyrie, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, whoever they draft in this upcoming NBA draft. That's a team that could still be hovering around there. We'll see how they rebound. But we're trying to get here, people, as you can start seeing, there are some teams that could either start faltering or just completely dive out, opening the door for the Spurs to possibly get into the postseason, a 1 through 6 slot. So again, for argument's sake, we'll take out 1 through 3 because likely that ain't going to happen. Thunder are going to be the Thunder. Rockets, they're definitely on the rise. They'll likely be up there again. The Lakers,
what a changing point too. The Rockets.
What do you? Okay, okay. Before we get to the Rockets, what do you think about the Lakers? Do you think the Lakers are still going to be hovering around that 3-4 spot next year?
So depending what they're doing in the offseason, if they were to add, a guy like Lopez from Milwaukee or somebody like that, they could definitely hover around there. But if you're talking about just a LeBron, Luka type team, they're going to get their wins, but they're going to fall a little bit. They're not going to fall completely out of the playoff rankings right now. Again, it just depends on what they do in the offseason. The team as it sits right now, I think they go maybe around that 5th or 6th seed. They're right around there. I could see them maybe falling in further back into the play-in spot too as well. So just to turn, but I think they will fall with the current team constructed. I think they do fall a little bit.
Interesting. But you're mentioning another team right now, Dallas. What do you think about Dallas?
Well, Dallas, on the other hand, like you say, on paper they're a definite playoff team with Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, a lot of the bigs that they have there. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, if they're healthy, they are a contender in the West. And the other team I had mentioned a little while ago was the Rockets, because the Rockets could technically, they have the 2nd seed. They are being, really tested by the Warriors. They could potentially blow up that whole team just to get a Kevin Durant or a superstar like that. But you're going to lose, probably Green. You're probably going to lose some draft picks. You're going to lose probably another potential young guy on that, on the Houston Rockets team. So blowing it up doesn't necessarily mean that it's great bringing in a superstar, because injuries happen. You have to be able to gel with that superstar. Is he going to work well with Fred VanVleet or, Sengun? There's a lot of factors there. So the Rockets are a team to watch, that they may not be the second seed next year. They may actually drop a little bit, depending, again, if they do blow up a lot of that team in the offseason.
Absolutely. And as we're trying to highlight here, everybody, to start the show, is you can see teams could start faltering, leaving the door open for your San Antonio Spurs to get into the postseason and kill this playoff drought or just postseason drought. But they got to help themselves first. So we're going to talk about that when we get back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos. Now, what do the Spurs have to do to get into the postseason next year? We're going to be discussing that in just a few seconds. But first, I want to talk to you about Monarch Money.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining online, shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Money Monarch isn't just a budget app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing all your money and you start building wealth. Look, you get surprising insights. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Easy collaboration, managing money with your partner smoother than ever. You can track shared or personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page without the stress, all in one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, even plan long-term goals. Right now, you want to take control of your finances with Money Monarch. Use code LOCKEDNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDNBA for half off your first year.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the Cybertron Spurs.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. He is with Sweep the League on YouTube. Check out his show right now. Go subscribe to that too, as well as Locked On Spurs. But first, Locked On Spurs, then Rudy. We're doing that, okay, everybody? We are talking about the Spurs and what it's going to take for the Spurs to get into the postseason next year. Now, you kind of highlighted, glossed over the landscape of the West moving into next season. There's a lot of moving parts, but there seems to be windows of opportunity for the Spurs to jump in, but they got to help themselves. So first off, Rudy, I think they helped themselves big time by getting that in-season deal with the Kings to bring in De'Aaron Fox. So check that box. We're good to go. How key is the draft? Do you think the draft is going to help them push forward into the postseason, or are they still going to have to swing for the fences and make some deals and bring in a top-notch free agent or a player and via trade?
I guess it's fair to say, when this episode drops, we still don't know the lottery position. So it's fair to say where they land in the lottery. If they stand still and they get around 8th and 14th, those picks are great. But I think if you're a team ready to win now and to start winning now, you're going to have to move both of those picks to get quality players in. Necessarily doesn't have to mean you got to go get a Kevin Durant type of player, but you got to go get, some really good quality players in return for these picks that are going to help you win right away. One guy in particular that we don't mention a whole lot of that kind of is, rumored outside of everything. Domantas Sabonis playing right next to Victor Wembanyama. I'm sure Sacramento, they like what they have in Levine and DeMar DeRozan. They understand Sabonis isn't very happy there. They could use another lottery pick in there somewhere so they could gain another player for the long run. Also, we mentioned Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, you see how Milwaukee is in this playoff series, so he may not be happy there. They want him to sign an extension at the end of the season. He's probably not going to do it. So if there's no guarantee for them there, they may want to move on from Giannis, as tough as that is to see. So the draft, it depends on the lottery position. If they get in the top 3, you may want to keep that pick, but then again, it becomes more valuable. So right now, the key is, for me on those picks, it's probably going to move them if you want to win right now. That's where I'm looking at everything. And a very good draft class in 2025. A lot of teams are going to want to get into these lottery picks right here. They're going to want to get a couple of them if available. Spurs are in great position. They can probably land a superstar as well, maybe an all-star as well. Yeah. So I definitely think they need to move these picks. I would probably look at that first before making any pick in the draft.
No, look, me and Rudy, we're not done. We get it. For the Spurs to make a top 6 spot next season, that's a tall task, but there are ways for the Spurs to get into that position. And one I got to bring up is simply, swinging for the fences, or whether using that draft pick to parlay it into, an established a player in the league they could bring in, establish big, desperately, an established 3-point shooter, marksman they could bring in. That'll help the Spurs as well. Now, obviously, you look at the current roster right now, and one thing they have to do, they got to improve team defense and rebounding. I mean, that was just one of the biggest bugaboos last year. They just cannot stop teams. You look at what the Spurs ranked last season, 18th in the defensive rating, allowing 114.4 points per game. That's not good. They struggle with giving up wide open threes, offensive rebounds. How many times do we see that on the stat sheets after games? Well, Spurs got out rebounded. Yeah, they probably lost the game. Yeah, and how much do we hear about this word? Physicality. They got to get a little nastiness in them. They got to bring that. They got to bring that swagger on the court. So they can do things immediately right now. They don't have to wait for a draft. They don't have to wait for a trade. Just improve that defense. Be a little bit more nastier on that court. Just lock down as best you can. And look, losing Wemby hurt. I get that. But you'll have a healthy Wemby. Castle season 2. De'Aaron Fox, and his stealing ability. So all that is good. So in the immediacy right now, they can improve team defense and rebound. But Rudy, I was going to ask you though, how key is the coaching situation and that adjustment this team is going to have to go through for the Spurs to make a big leap into the postseason next year?
Before you can even talk postseason, before you can talk play-in, or hell, before you can even talk next season, coaching is number one priority. I mean, there's no additions to a team that you can make without having a coach in place. And that is the absolute biggest thing that needs to happen, whether it happens during the playoffs right now, whether it happens as soon as the lottery position is determined, it doesn't matter. It needs to be addressed right away because you want to be able to find a coach that's going to be able to work with the players you have. You're going to be able to find a coach that has some input on players coming in. So, yeah, that is 100% the biggest thing. It's 50 feet of whatever, and then it's everything else underneath it. So that is the absolute most important thing.
Yeah, that position, coaching position spot, I should say, it matters. Yeah, Popovich, who is seemingly on his way out, if not this offseason, extremely soon. But my gut, based on just what we've been reporting, is just I think he might be, calling it a day. But at the same time, really bringing in a coach that is adapted to the modern NBA, that pace, the space, that offense. The Spurs offense didn't really have an issue last year. I think they were like 16th, 113 points per game. It was just the defense that allowed them to get their butts kicked. But God, that's just huge. And that's where, many fans feel, okay, well, Mike Malone might be the key, might be the answer. And maybe so. He seems to be at top of the list. But then there's Mitch Johnson. He's a young coach. He gets these guys. He's been with the system for a long time. Do you think the Spurs probably know already which way Popovich is leaning towards? They got to know, right?
I believe they do. Like I said, I think we've talked about it a couple of times here where we feel like Pop and them, they already had that talk and they're just kind of playing it coy right now. Not really announcing anything as far as, what he's going to plan to do. But I feel they've had those conversations. I feel Pop's already told him what's going to happen, what he wants to do. And again, now it's just a matter of, okay, let's assess everything. Let's try to find the right person. Hell, I even bet Pop's already helping them, try to figure out which coach would fit better. And, you mentioned Mitch Johnson. I know there was a comment on the YouTube page about, me taking Mitch Johnson over Coach Bud. And you hit it right on the head. The new style of the NBA, Coach Bud has struggled with adapting to the new style of coaching in the NBA. And that's the only reason why I took Mitch Johnson over Coach Bud when we talked about it. Don't give me the he won a title with Milwaukee. That was during the COVID era. So, I mean, a lot of those titles are kind of, to me, they're still, they count, but they're still kind of okay getting adjusted stuff. That was an all defensive team. He had Middleton, he had Drew Holiday, he had Giannis Antetokounmpo. So he had a team built around him that was defensive primarily. And of course, that's a Pop thing as well for Coach Bud, but his style is not exactly what they're looking for when it comes to the new generation.
Yeah, exactly. And one other thing about just roster construction is, there are some free agents that are going to be on the table this offseason when the NBA season is over that are gettable, where you might have to maybe have to spend some money, but not break the bank. You mentioned the name right now. Imagine Lopez backing up Wemby. I think, my goodness, that'd be pretty good there, huh, Rudy?
It'd be okay. It would be good, but it wouldn't. I don't think it'd be successful because then you allow Victor to, you kind of force him to play on the outside of the perimeter, which
Yeah.
I know it's what he wants to do, but um, I think the lane would be a little clogged up on the offensive side. If they both decide to play really good defensively, I mean, that would be a really good, 1-2 punch right there defensively. Lopez can't shoot the 3 ball. So again, it depends on who you fit there. I think he's the cheaper of the two guys that we mentioned with him and Sabonis. But again, I think Lopez is on the side of, I need to win the title and I need to go with the best options available. And that's why I think he's rumored to the Lakers right now. But again, it just depends on which team wants your services.
Hey, I mean, Rudy, there is still Naz Reid. He's also one of those Spurs guys that we can go get. I mean, not the Celtics. The Stars was not enough for that guy. I don't think he'll leave Minnesota. I think Minnesota will give him a nice bump in pay, and considering Minnesota's success,
yeah,
in the playoffs right now, it's going to be hard to pry him away from the tournament. Yeah. Unless the Spurs throw him the bag, unless they, I don't see the Spurs overpay for him, but
they shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't. But my goodness, I mean, that's like the perfect complementary PC for Wemby. That's like perfect. Exactly what you need. But let's get to the bottom line now. So we started off the show by evaluating the West. We highlighted some teams that could kind of start slipping and, open a window for the Spurs. Talked on this segment what they could do right now, from improving the defense with the current roster and rebounding to what they could do with the draft picks to chasing free agents. We mentioned Brook Lopez. We mentioned Naz Reid. It's a bonus. All that being said, Rudy, can the Spurs make the 25-26 playoffs next season?
Well, 6 seed this year took 49 wins. You're talking about another plus 15 after an improvement of plus 12 from the previous year. Added another plus 15 wins to get into a playoff spot. I would say if you're going with current construction right now, that's probably going to be a no. Easily a no. With the team currently constructed now, if you go in and you add, a guy that we mentioned, if you add some really major pieces, you kind of shore up what you have and you have the right coach, I would say the possibility is there, but I'm still going to say probably not. I'm talking 47 wins. Now, 47, 46 wins get you into the playoffs. Then by all means, like I said, some of these teams are going to fall. So, 49 may not be that number to get into the playoff spot. Maybe 46, 47. I think if they have the right pieces around them, the right coaching staff, everything falls into place, they could squeak into that 6th spot right there, get into the playoffs. But again, hard to determine what goes on in the offseason. Right now, currently constructed, no, they would miss the playoffs. But again, we're not talking play-in, but just strictly playoffs, I'd say no.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you. I think, a healthy Wemby, healthy Fox is going to help them maybe challenge for that. And I could definitely see them in the mix, as the season starts winding down. But cracking the top 6 in the West, how about this, Spurs fans? I got them about a year away. What about you, Rudy? I have them about one more year away.
Currently constructed, I would probably say maybe minimum another year. I would probably go a little bit longer, but currently constructed, I could say maybe minimum a year. And you didn't even touch the Clippers. If the Clippers stay healthy, that's probably a top 2 team in the West as well. So, the West is loaded, man. It's always loaded. So it's really tough. But as right now, it's a minimum a year away if they don't make any changes at all.
There you have it. That's our bottom line there. Can the Spurs make the postseason next year? We're still saying they're a year away, but I think next season they're going to take a big chunk out of that rebuild. I mean, it's going to be, they were just 2 feet away from getting out of it. That's exactly how I feel when it's all said and done. Hey, what are your thoughts on this topic? Can the Spurs make a big leap into the top 6? No, you can't use the play-in as a tournament to get in. Just do they have enough juice going into next season? Let us know. You can let Rudy know on at Sweep the League and his show at Sweep the League as well on YouTube. Let me know by leaving a comment over at the Locked On Spurs YouTube website. We'll read in the future episode of Locked On Spurs. Coming up next, we'll be discussing the NBA playoffs. What games are on the slate tonight as the postseason continues? All that and more right here on Locked On Spurs. But first, I want to talk to you about Wayfair.
Spring is here. That means it's home project season. Whether you're refreshing a room or tackling a full renovation, Wayfair is the best kept secret for all things home improvement. From small updates like stylish cabinet hardware to major upgrades like new vanities, sink, or outdoor lighting, Wayfair has quality products for every budget. Look, their free fast shipping makes it so easy. No hauling heavy items from the store. You got top brands like GE, Moen at great prices. Shopping is seamless. You find exactly what you need to fit your space and style. Wayfair makes home improvement easy. Get started now at Wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. And Rudy, let's talk about where the Spurs would be or should be soon. That is the NBA postseason. And I got a heavy slate tonight. The Spurs. See, I'm still thinking of the Spurs in the postseason. See, it can't help it, everybody. It's Fiesta time in San Antonio. Fiesta and Spurs playoffs go together, but it's been absent for quite some time as the NBA playoffs continue. Let's start off with the Bucks and Pacers. Indiana leads at 3-1. The series is over, right? There's got to be, right? They're playing Indiana. The Bucks, they just really haven't shown up, have they?
Yeah, and also added the fact that, Dame tore his Achilles, I think, or ACL. So, I mean, that's that hurt the Bucks. But even prior to that, the Bucks were pretty much done. And you can kind of tell that the body language and everything just shows they're done. Indiana should close it out easily.
Are people sleeping on the Pacers? Or are they just, they got the kind of thing and moving on, they just got lucky to draw them.
Well, I think I've kind of said the Pacers, they're right in the middle of the pack type of team in the East. Playing against the Bucks, I don't really put too much into that. I need to see what they do in the next round. But, I mean, we'll see till round 2. I mean, saying they get there, we can't automatically assume they're going to get there because something crazy can happen. But I think they're a middle of the pack team. I don't expect them to go to the finals or maybe even conference finals.
Yeah, all right, moving on. Pistons and Knicks tonight. They'll be at MSG. Knicks lead that one 3-1. Go New York, go. I think Knicks get that W. Credit to the Pistons. Yeah. They made it interesting in that series, especially in that last game, coming down to the wire, Cat with that incredible 3-point shot. It's just, the Pistons are on the rise. So I think if they do get bounced tonight, they got nothing to hang their heads about. This is a team that went from a 12-win season, something crazy like that, to the playoffs. So you talk about a quick turnaround. That's what the Pistons are right now. But I got the Knicks advancing, getting the gentleman's sweep tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you go all the way back to Sweep the League, when we talked about our NBA predictions, I had the Knicks and the Thunder going to the finals. I mean, the Knicks, I think, get the W. I don't know if they win this game. I think they maybe close out in Game 6. But nonetheless, this has been probably the best series, one of the best series, in my opinion, on the NBA playoffs. It reminds me of 80s and 90s basketball. Honestly, there's physicality. Refs are just, swallowing the whistle. They're not making a lot of calls and a lot of controversy. But, this is the kind of basketball that we all love. A few calls go the Detroit way. Detroit's probably up, 3-1 on the series easily. So I think this is going to be a Knicks. I think they're going to maybe – it's hard to say. Knicks are going to win the series. I don't know if they win this game, but because of the team foul, I'll take the Knicks just for the gentleman's sweep, like you said. But wouldn't surprise me if it goes to Game 6 at all.
Yeah, so go New York, go. Moving on to the second round, at least here in Locked On Spurs. Also, too, I'm a little biased. I lived in New York for about 20 years, so go New York, go. All right, moving on to Celtics and Magic. Look, Magic, I think, at full power with Suggs and the other Wagner brother. I think maybe it's not 3-1 Boston right now. Maybe it's even 2-2 because a full healthy Magic plus their defense gives any team, let alone the Celtics, fit. So I think it's going to be a gritty fight. I got Boston going on and advancing. Gentleman's sweep here. They're playing in Boston. That crowd's going to be electric. So, but the Magic, man, if they do end their season tonight, man, they're going to be a force in the East at full power.
Oh, yeah. I've got Boston winning. This is a really good test for Boston. You've seen injuries to Tatum and Brown, and obviously Porzingis getting those 5 stitches. Very physical Magic team, but even with those guys, it would probably be a lot closer. I still would take Boston based off experience and, they're able to hit the jump shot. Orlando is a major piece away. When I say major, it's like one person, and that's a shooter. If they could find a shooter, holy cow. I mean, this would be a whole different Magic squad. But for right now, they're still rebuilding. They're still adding pieces. Give me Boston.
Yeah, I'm with you, going with Boston as well. And then the game of the night, Clippers Nuggets in Denver. Series is 2-2. I think the Clippers should have moved on already by now. I mean, they just shot themselves in the foot in those 2 losses there. How do you not box out Gordon? How do you turn the ball over 20 plus in that opening game? But nevertheless, here we are, 2-2. Technically it's back to square one. If you just look at it for what it is, Clippers stole one in Denver, Denver stole one in Los Angeles, and they're just what they should be right now. The thing about this series, Rudy, is this series is too tight, man. They're like mirror images of each other, these two teams. It's Kawhi seemingly is back to being like old school Kawhi. Joker is still being Joker. Murray's come back for Denver. Aaron Gordon is being a pest, really defending Kawhi well. On the other side, you got Norman Powell, obviously Kawhi. You got Zubac, who plays Joker pretty well. Best I ever seen. I mean, for a big man, but I don't know who to pick in this game. I don't know. I'm going to go with Denver simply because they're at home. But if you were to tell me the Clippers won, I wouldn't be surprised. That's how evenly matched this series is. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is the other series that is a must-watch series and one of the best series in the playoffs as well. So, I mean, it goes back and forth. You think one team has the advantage, and then the other team comes and outplays them a little bit and gets the win at the end. I want to say because it's in Denver, you want to give Denver the nod. But again, Kawhi Leonard's been on a different level, and he's showing the reason why that a lot of people, and not just fans, a lot of people and former NBA players consider him the closest to you've seen, to MJ when he's healthy. I mean, two-way player, scores at will, can defend anybody on the perimeter, can defend anybody in the paint, makes life tough. And if he continues to play like that, the Clippers can beat the Nuggets, but it just seems like there's one thing missing that the Clippers has that Denver just seems to overtake. And a lot of it seems to be luck, man. I mean, the luck's been on the Denver side, so I'm gonna go with Denver because they're at home. But again, if you give me a coin flip, Jeff, it's anybody's matchup.
Yeah, this is by far the best series in the opening round of the NBA playoffs. Is this one, Denver Clippers? It just feels also too that with it. This is a series where it literally comes down to the little things, and I'm not kidding. This is what the Spurs been practicing about or preaching about. It's the little things. This is it right here. Simple box out of Gordon. That game winner doesn't count.
Yeah.
Minimize turnovers. Perhaps the Clippers are up maybe 3-1 right now. Just little things like that. And by the way, it's heated. I thought Gordon was going to murder Harden. Seriously, did you see that? How he went into a rage mode? You think you think Harden threw a punch or like an open fist punch? Because he clipped Gordon in the chin, and that's what set him off.
Yeah, it was close. I mean, it did look like it if you look at some angles. And that's one thing about the playoffs is that we've already seen a lot of altercations and a lot of series, and I'm loving it because this is the kind of basketball that I grew up on. Playoffs were hard fought, and you wanted to fight to win, and we're seeing it now.
So are you going with Denver or LA tonight?
I'm taking Denver just because they're at home, but again, it's almost a toss-up. I mean, it's literally a toss-up.
Yeah, I'm going with Denver too, simply for the home advantage. All right, those are our thoughts on the NBA playoffs. Hopefully the Spurs will be there sooner, but you listen to the first half of the Locked On Spurs. Looks like you have to wait a little longer, though. But other than that, Rudy, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Tell us about Sweep the League.
Yeah, just go to our YouTube page. We just hit 1,300 subscribers, so appreciate everybody out there. Just go to YouTube, search Sweep the League TV, hit that subscribe button so you can get all the content that we have from Miami Folks Radio, Sweep the League TV, Sweep Unplugged, just a ton of content. It's 24/7, so you're just constantly getting great talk, sports talk, great live talk, and just having fun with us every single day and every single time and every single day and night.
Absolutely. Again, follow him on X as well at Sweep the League. Everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. As always, you guys are the everydayers. Come back every single day here to Locked On Spurs, especially during the offseason. We'll keep you up with what's going on with the silver and black as the offseason continues. So subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast. Also, the Locked On Spurs newsletter is in the description below. If you're watching on YouTube, it says LO Spurs newsletter, or just go to LockedOnDaily.com. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black. So for Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.